Hey everybody, this is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and we are excited to have you join us. We are just totally focused on the possibility of sharing cool stories with those interested in service around the world. And you are joining the recording of the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, which is an online asynchronous Rotary club. Because we're a Rotary club, that means that we're into service above self, Rotary's motto. And we're part of a 1.2 million member organization around the world, 34,000 clubs, something like that. And we love to share stories that inspire people to see what they can do to make a difference in the lives of others. This week, our program is with Dave and Kemi of World Bicycle Relief. So a little bit about them both. All right, first, Dave Neiswander is a 13-year member of World Bicycle Relief. He spent most of that time in Africa. He will undoubtedly be telling us a little bit about his experiences there. This is an opportunity for him to connect those experiences with what bicycles can be in terms of helping people develop possibilities in education, gender equity, healthcare, and economic development. And with him is a relatively new member of the organization, but a longtime supporter and donor to World Bicycle Relief, Kemi King. And with that, I will hand it over to Dave for the presentation. Dave, welcome to our club.
Thank you so much, Russian. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you so much to the eClub and Rotary. We've had a great existing relationship with Rotary, and we're excited to be sharing the story of World Bicycle Relief. So I just want to make sure folks can read my screen here. Okay, doing well. Great. Really, when I start these presentations, it's always sort of good to start from the beginning. And World Bicycle Relief is 15 years old this year and really started as a disaster relief to the Indian Ocean tsunami that took place in December of 2004. And we really come from the cycling industry. One of the co-founders of Shram Corporation, FK Day, and his wife, Leah Misbach Day, thought, well, with this disaster that's taken place, maybe bicycles could make a difference as it relates to the recovery, the healthcare, the economic, the educational recovery in the disaster-laden areas in the Indian Ocean tsunami. So went on the ground and put together a program that started with 24,000 locally sourced bicycles, and was able to partner with a local group and saw great impact. And in fact, instead of being a one and done disaster recovery, World Bicycle Relief started from that original program. So we did initially 24,400 bicycles. They went into healthcare programs for people that were working with disaster relief and trying to help the people that were in need. Education, students that were displaced because of the tsunami having to reconnect with their schools. And then entrepreneurs, think about a fisherman in that situation that might be displaced because of the tsunami, having to reconnect between the ocean and his new markets. And what we found in that initial program was that the impact was great. There was a study that was done, a post-impact study that was done that shows that there was a connection to those vital resources of healthcare, education, and livelihood. And we also heard that the 250,000 people that perished with the Indian Ocean tsunami, that happens every 6 weeks in sub-Saharan Africa with preventable diseases, poverty, and bicycles and mobility are really big impact. So from that initial program 15 years ago, we're now up to about 170 people in 13 countries. We just ticked over 500,000 bicycles that have been deployed in over 20 countries, and really excited to talk to a little bit about the impact that bicycles could have as it relates to both healthcare, education, and economic development. Today, I want to take you a little bit on the journey. As Rushton mentioned, I spent most of my career with World Bicycle Relief in Africa. I was actually the first person on the ground in Zambia back in 2007. And living in Zambia. So, and give you a little bit of picture of what Zambia is. Zambia is in sub-Saharan Africa. It's about the size of Texas with half the population. This is a very typical picture of sort of the rural areas. There are no school buses that are taking kids to schools. There's very little in the rural areas as far as paved roads and no highways. So in remote villages around the world, many people live in simple huts. just like Tamara here. In our home, there's no electricity, there's no running water. The roads to the nearest water source, school, and healthcare center are long, and oftentimes only simple trails connect her to those vital resources. In Zambia, more than 50% of the people live on less than $2 a day, and most of them are living in rural areas. They have really very few mobility options other than walking. And if their main mode of transportation is walking, distance really does become a barrier, and time is an enemy. And to accomplish your daily tasks is basically a race against the sun. So when you think about things as far as fetching water, going to school, visiting a health clinic, or delivering your goods to the marketplace, these daily tasks become a race against the sun and fatigue. Without access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities, people continue to live in poverty and die from preventable diseases. World Bicycle Relief is changing that with quality bicycles. We build specially designed, locally assembled, strong and reliable bicycles and distribute them to school children, healthcare workers, and provide them to entrepreneurs. The Buffalo bicycle is designed and manufactured to be durable and affordable. And this is really where our lineage coming from SRAM Corporation, which is, again, the world's second largest bicycle component manufacturer, US largest bicycle component manufacturer, really comes into play. The Buffalo bicycle is a simple design to make it suitable for locally available spare parts. Strong like a buffalo, it's all made of steel. It is about 50 pounds of love. There's a lot of steel that goes into that bicycle, and every part of it has been very specifically product development. And what's really special about the Buffalo bicycle is that rear carrying rack. You'll see 100 kg or about 220 pounds. So if you're taking a sick patient to the clinic, or if you're taking a student, two students are riding their bicycle, you can ride somebody on the back of it, or if you're taking your produce or milk to the marketplace, it's really important to have that carrying capacity. What was interesting about our program when we first got on the ground there, we were working with a healthcare program and delivered 23,000 bicycles to healthcare workers that were helping with the HIV/AIDS pandemic. What happened soon after our first distribution of bicycles, people saw that improved bicycle and said, listen, I've seen that bicycle. It's very different from what is locally available. Locally available, what we affectionately call bicycle-shaped objects. The bicycles that are being imported in from India or China really break apart very quickly. They're based off of an old design, but they've been cheapened throughout the supply chain really to maximize profits and not to the usability of the end user. So market demand made us create the for-profit subsidiary, which is Buffalo Bicycles. So Buffalo Bicycles was started in 2008. It's 100% owned by the not-for-profit. So all the sales and proceeds and the value chain and the profitability goes up to World Bicycle Relief. So by combining philanthropic programs into healthcare and education and social enterprise sales really is an innovative and scalable model that really successfully addresses some of the need for reliable, affordable transportation. We assemble our bicycles locally in our operations in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Malawi, and as of this year in Colombia. In those countries, we also have Buffalo Bicycle shops where we sell bicycles and spare parts. Our Buffalo bicycles can be found all over the world at this point, the 500,000. Those countries that are marked in red is where we've done distributions over the last 15 years, in some in Southeast Asia, some in South America. And as I just mentioned, we did open up a new facility just this year in Barranquilla, Colombia, as we increase our program into Latin America. So to date, as I mentioned, we've delivered over 500,000 bicycles to students, healthcare workers, and entrepreneurs, and we've trained more than 2,500 bicycle field mechanics. So within those 15 years, we really have been proven to be the large-scale implementing philanthropic bicycle programs. And as you'll see, as the philanthropic programs grow, the social enterprise sales have also been growing at a pretty good clip. Our experience and research as the data shows that mobility really is essential in very many elements of development. It really is sort of cross-cutting. And the bicycle providing basic mobility contributes to 9 of what's used as the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. Since the time is limited here, I want to focus on a few stories to illustrate how our Buffalo Bicycles contributes towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. First one to highlight is no poverty. There's been remarkable progress over the last many years as far as poverty reduction, but the challenges still remain. And one of that reasons is most people in the poorest of the country live in remote areas with limited access to education, healthcare, economic opportunity, electricity, safe water. And no matter what you do for a living, your success or failure is very dependent upon available transportation options. Let's take Joe, for example. Joe is a welder. He's in Zambia. He used to spend about most of his earnings to pay for his bus ride, if the bus arrived even at all. Now he transports 220 pounds of steel on his Buffalo Bicycles, 55 miles round trip. He's able to take this journey whenever he needs, and that saves him quite a bit of money. Georgina is a dairy farmer. She's one of my favorite people. She's also in Zambia, and thanks to Buffalo Bicycles, she's able to deliver 23% more dairy to the milk cooperative than she was prior to simply having reliable utility transportation. And with that, she's able to reduce her travel time by 45%. The next one I want to talk about is zero hunger. According to the UN, nearly a decade of progress, the number of people who suffer from hunger has slowly started to increase over the past 3 years, with about 1 in every 9 people globally suffering from hunger today. A reliable bicycle helps not only to transport milk, also grain, fruits and vegetables, even chickens and goats on the back of that. It also helps transport knowledge about sustainable farming. A couple of years ago, we had a partnership that started with Food and Agricultural Organization of the UN, FAO. And they implemented a program in Zambia to educate farmers in sustainable farming. With the Buffalo Bicycles, the farmers were able to share their newly acquired knowledge to many more farmers. So they have a lead farmer that would go out and share with broader farmers. One positive side effect is the tangential improvement in the lives of those farmers that received a bicycle, is that they were able to better access healthcare, better access taking their students, their children to school. Good health and well-being. Many parts in the rural parts of Africa, there's very often only one doctor or one nurse serving thousands of people, huge catchment areas with just one small clinic. Distance to healthcare centers can be really far apart. This is why many volunteers of the communities have to go visit their patients and do what we call home-based care, whether it's giving them antiretroviral medicine, following up on malaria, following up on tuberculosis, and especially in this time with the COVID, making sure that their neighbors are doing well, but having to travel 10, 15 kilometers apart, you know, that can really reduce your availability as your outreach. This is a video that we'll share when we share the whole presentation that sort of talks about that. With a bicycle, healthcare workers can reach 88% more patients and travel 4 times farther than on foot. This video, again, can be shared later on. They can visit patients more frequently, can spend time with them while they're taking care of their family's duties. Really has also doubled the retention when the bicycle is used as an incentive to continue with their volunteering, because they're able to take care of their own families because they have this tool, the bicycle. Quality education. One of the biggest barriers to education in rural areas is often the physical act of actually just getting to school. Can you imagine getting up and having to walk 4 to 5 to 10 miles to get to school? Imagine that's what stood between you and your education, especially if you're a girl student. With our education program, we provide bicycles to students, to teachers, to school volunteers to prove access to education, to reduce the travel time, and to help improve educational outcome. The program, we call it BEAT, Bicycle Education Empowerment Program, really has 3 pillars to it. One, that it's community-led, that there's a local group that determine who receives the bicycles. There's a study-to-own contract where the students have to continue to be in school in order for the bicycle to be utilized. And there's also the training of the bicycle field mechanics to ensure that there's a sustainability, a robust supply chain of spare parts, and a trained field mechanic to maintain and repair the bicycles. This is a bicycle supervisory committee. And this is the part, they play a key part in sensitizing, working with the traditional leaders, which is really important as it relates to the chief and the chieftainess, the headmaster, the head of the PTA, working together as far as who should receive the bicycles and what are the programs that need to be laid out. The students receive the bicycles, sign their study-to-own contract, and with the contract, they agree to attend classes regularly. They maintain the bicycles, improve their learning outcomes, and primarily use the bicycle for going to school. The bicycle itself does not become their property until they actually graduate from school. So there's that ongoing supervision. We never wanted to be an organization that was a dump and run. Like, here is the bicycles, good luck. We continue to maintain and monitor the bicycles over a period of time to ensure the impact is being maintained. Sustainability. It's one thing to deliver a bicycle, it's another thing to be able to make sure that bicycle is maintained. So this is Joe. He's one of our field mechanics. He's been the person on the ground that the students can go to maintain and repair the bicycles to make sure that it's still rolling. It also gives him a job. He's been trained by World Bicycle Relief on the proper maintenance. He's been a proper set of skills and tools, and then also connected with the school so that he has an ongoing income coming from that. The impact from this, we just recently completed a randomized control trial study. We've shown that the bicycles reduces the commuting time by 33% and 28% reduction in absenteeism, which has been fantastic. What ties into also this education program is gender equality. When the sun comes up in Zambia, in these households where they're living, most of the girls have to wake up and fetch the water and collect the firewood, clean the dishes, take care of younger siblings, and then walk those 5, 7, 10 miles to get to school. As you can imagine, that sort of can be pretty chaotic, and that many times they drop out of school because of their household responsibilities, or they're also many times, unfortunately, dropped out because of pregnancies or early marriages, where there's a dowry that's received and they go into early marriages and drop out of education. The key to breaking the poverty and disease cycle in developing countries is education of girls. And it's for that reason that we provide 70% of the bicycles to girl students in this program. This is a picture of Stella. She was one of the girls that has received the Buffalo bicycles. She's based in Kenya, and like many girls in Kenya, she had a baby girl just before she was expected to graduate from primary school. So she starts her day, takes care of her daughter, and then she has to bicycle 7.5 miles to get to school. Can you imagine what that would be like if she had to walk that and take care of it? But with a bicycle, she's able to make that happen. One of the last things I want to talk about is water. It's certainly a concern for many of us in the development process. Worldwide, women and girls spend an estimated 200 million hours daily collecting water. Imagine that, that's $200 million hours a day. That adds up to 8.3 million days, or more than 22,800 years. So if a woman started with an empty bucket in the Stone Age, she wouldn't arrive home until today, which is sort of mind-boggling to think about. With a Buffalo bicycles, one can cover the distance 4 times faster, and then also carry 5 more times in weight. So obviously improves efficiency and provides more time for the day. So I hope you understand, as this sort of beginning moments, and we're going to have some time for question and answers, that this is not just a bicycle. This is really a life-changing tool for people to help themselves. And this is where having this type of a tool in the hands, if you mobilize these girls, these entrepreneurs, these healthcare workers, they will change their world. I've included on this slide another video called PALABANA, which really brings the story together about a mobilized community and what that looks like. So hopefully with some time, you will be able to look that over. Excellent. At this point, we're also happy to answer some questions as far as how we're responding to the COVID response. We've recently distributed 2,500 bicycles in partnerships with groups like Save the Children, the Red Cross, UNICEF, to help in the immediate response needed for the COVID response across the areas that we work. Kimmy and I want to very much thank you for this and really look forward to answering some of your questions and going a little deeper into some of this. So I'll turn it back to you, Rushton. Thanks so much.
Excellent, Dave. Thank you so much. I do want to get straight to the questions. And so, Carl, I think you've got the first one.
Yes, Dave, thanks very much for the presentation. The Buffalo bike is obviously a very durable bike. I think you said it weighs almost 50 pounds. They're hauling a couple hundred pounds on it. I understand the need for durability, but these are all direct drive, no gearing. Would gearing create too much of a maintenance issue?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you so much, Carl. We do have a model that we call the Charger that has actually a 6-speed external derailleur from Shimano, of all things. So we do have one of those out there, as we call it the Charger. The issue is an external derailleur is very vulnerable in the conditions that we're working with. So when you're dealing with cable and housing, and when you're dealing with that external derailleur, it gets knocked around. It's not very reliable in maintaining. So we do have a new product development team that is very excited to be launching by the end of this year a multiple gear drivetrain that is going to be reliable, durable, very fixable for that. It's been something we've been working on for a couple of years, really leveraging the expertise from SRAM and some of the bicycle industry experts and that are now working for World Bicycle Leaf and consulting with us. So we're really excited to be able to share that later in this year.
Great, thank you.
Shags, I think you have a question.
I did, and I put it in the chat room just so you could think about it in advance. But is there a way to adapt a motor to it as an option, such as electric or gas, that would either power the drivetrain or attach to the wheel and move it forward?
Sure, that's one of the things that we're looking back, especially when you think about e-bikes, and when you think about the potential of where that's going and the innovation that's taking place in that, especially pair that with solar power and the ability to have a battery that could sort of drive things on that could really expand. So those are part of the things that we're looking at for new product development. It's amazing to me in living 10 years in Africa, the ingenuity that you find, right? As far as the repair and necessity is the mother of invention. There are available motorbikes that are out there. So relatively low entry point. I mean, they cost anywhere between $700, $900 that are available. The issue there is, of course, the availability of petrol or gas or diesel to be able to find that. So I think there's some really interesting innovations to think about, especially as it relates to potentially e-bikes and battery powers and solar. And so we're looking into those as well.
Good, thank you.
Mark.
Yeah, I do have a question. Dave, you guys obviously with product development and getting feedback from the field, I'm just curious about how you organize that feedback. And then once you get it and you take it to the engineers, what kind of a timeline are you generally looking at from inception or hearing a need from out in that front line to being able to implement with a product?
Great question. I should have included in our presentation that our motto as an organization is that all answers are found in the field. So we can sit here in Chicago, we can sit in Silicon Valley or wherever our offices are. Where we do our work and listening to the end user and listening to the customer is the most critical information. So spending hours and hours and days in our Buffalo shops, retail shops, at dairy cooperatives, meeting with caregivers, doing that ongoing monitoring. So we do have a team of field monitors that are part of the product development team that then have weekly updates. That's usually used through Zoom calls at this point, but also WhatsApp chat groups that highlight if there's an issue or a problem that gets escalated and connected very quickly to our supply chain team that are working with our component manufacturers and supplier based in Taiwan. So it's pretty remarkable how quickly, and I think if you had to say what's a differentiating factor of World Bicycle Relief, it is that connectivity of the end user to that supply chain and working directly with component manufacturers to address and change and make modifications as necessary. So that happens, it depends upon the issue. There's an ongoing log of things that are being looked at, and the bottom brackets are looking like this. Do we have an issue with inner tubes? You certainly have at times nonconformity with some of your suppliers, but it's identified with quality control systems throughout our entire assembly process, and then importantly the field monitors as well.
Cool, thanks. For any organization to make things happen, they have to have a story compellingly told, right? And Kemi, I know that for you, there were these many years of being a supporter and even a donor to World Bicycle Relief. What initially brought you to the organization? What is it that caught your eye?
The bicycle. We'll be honest, the bike meant a lot to me. I'm a cyclist, and anything that could change somebody's life with a bicycle, I was immediately drawn to. The minute I heard about it and heard what they did, it changed how I truly felt about the bicycle. I knew it gave me some sort of therapy and some sort of enjoyment, but it's truly changing these individuals' lives, and that meant a lot to me. So I knew right then and there I needed to be a part of it. And thrilled I'm now at this capacity with the organization. But yeah, it's been truly the bicycle started it for me.
Very, very cool. We're going to wind things down for the recording, as we always do. We'll stick around for a few minutes after that to continue asking questions of the interesting people that we bring on as a part of our programs for the eClub of Silicon Valley. I do want to say thank you to the people who joined the recording. First, a visitor, Paul, who had to leave. Sorry about that. But also our members. So Wade, as I call your name, Carl, here in the Bay Area, Shags, also in the Bay Area, Susan in Oregon, and Mark, who actually is the person who led me to know about this and to reach out and say, we should do a program. So Mark in New York, thank you very much for getting us connected to this story. Visitors who are taking this in as a recording, we hope that you will do two things for us. First, a little bit farther down the page, you'll let us know that you were here with our attendance piece. And if you put your email address in correctly, you'll get an email back that you can pass along to your club secretary to make up a miss from another Rotary Club if you are working, as I hope you are, to be a 100% attender. Additionally, at the bottom, there is the forum, the discuss forum that we use to have people share their ideas about the meeting, about the program. You can reply to other comments people have made. Let us know what you think. We love getting feedback that helps us do what we do better as well. We always like to leave the last message to our speakers, and I believe today we're going to hand it over to Kemi for the final word. So Kemi.
I just want to thank you all so much for allowing us to share our story with the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and for Dave for doing a tremendous job at kind of sharing a little bit about what we do. I know he's got so much experience in the field and would love to share even more stories, but just a quick kind of reminder of who we are and what we do. We change lives through the power of bicycles, and are committed to helping people conquer the challenge of distance and achieve independence and thrive. So thank you again.